Welcome back to Post Farms, everybody. This is like the beginning of the last week of March, and we're kind of slowly getting our machinery ready and stuff. Hopefully we'll be in the field here in the next couple of weeks if the weather ever cooperates. It's been a while since we had a video. We've been filming a lot of stuff the last couple of months. Just mostly odds and ends stuff, and trying to be in the shop when the weather's bad and try to be outside a little bit when it's fit, and you're going to see a little bit of everything in here. So anyway, hope you enjoy, and if you do, please like and subscribe. Thank you. Hey everybody, one of the questions I always get is what do farmers do all winter? And I'm going to show you a little bit today what one of the things we do is in getting our machinery ready is we go through our tractors and service them and check things out and make sure everything's ready to go for planting season. So here in the shop today we have our oldest 310, and we'll go around it real quick and I'll explain a few things we look at and what we do. So obviously the first thing you see is tires. We go around, we check the air pressure and all the tires, make sure they're up to where we want them. We make sure that our radiator and our condensers and everything are all clean and blow them out with compressed air. And then we get more into the service side. As you can see right there is the engine oil filter. So we'll drain the engine oil, change the engine oil filter. And then in here also is the dipstick for the hydraulic fluid. So we'll check that, and depending on how many hours it is, we may be changing that oil as well. But this time on this tractor, we're not to that point. So all we had to do is check and make sure it was full. And also in behind this shield here is the engine air filter that filters all the air that goes into the engine. And we change that filter annually also. And also, I don't know if we can see it down in here, but there's also a water separator filter for the fuel system that we change every year also. Under here we have the cab air filter. We change them out every year. We clean them several times during the year, but we do change them out, start fresh every spring. And again, we just kind of look for things all around the tractor that may not look quite right, may need adjusted, tightened. Fortunately, this tractor we didn't find much that needed to be done. If we usually check underneath here, we check the battery cables, make sure we don't have any corrosion, stuff like that. And back on this side, when we drain the engine oil, change it, here's where you put the new oil in and where we check the oil level to make sure we're full. Then we also have the final fuel filter, which is inside that housing. We take out and change, bleed the system back and get it started. So it sounds simple, but it takes some time if you go around and do it right. Plus there's other things that occasionally I mentioned on the hydraulic filter. There's a couple of big filters back in there that you can't see that we change when we change the hydraulic oil. There's also filters like in the DEF system that we change not every year, but every few years we have to change. There's an engine crankcase breather back in there that actually one of the tractors is due for to be changed this year. I think it's every 1,000 or 1,200 hours we're supposed to change them. So like I said, they are a very expensive piece of machinery, so we do our best to maintain them, to make them not only last, but to make sure we don't have any problems once we get to going in the field. We don't want to have to stop for a breakdown. Also, there's, especially in the front end, there's several grease points, stuff like that get greased throughout the year, but we always make sure they're lubed up here in the shop before we start. A couple of them are kind of hard to get to, so now's the good time to get to them. check the lights, make sure everything works, and really just kind of give it a good going over. I mentioned several different filters when I was going around the tractor, and I'll show you a few of them now. This is the engine air filter, pretty hefty filter, but it sucks a lot of air through it in a season. The smaller round one here is the filters the cab air and keeps everything clean inside the cab. Here we have two fuel filters. This one is the water separator that I mentioned back in behind the fuel tank, and this one is in the black canister over by the oil fill for the fuel. And then here's our engine oil filter that's inside the black canister over on the left side that I showed. And here's a little breakdown of what it costs just to service the tractor. See if I can get zoomed in here. Go down these. We have the engine air filter. That costs about $135. The cab air filter costs $37. Engine oil filter costs $143. The fuel water separator is $18. The fuel primary is $71. That gives us about $404 this year per tractor just for basic filters. And then engine oil, it holds 6.6 gallon. I figured it 100. I buy bulk oil, and I haven't got oil since probably a year and a half ago, so it's probably considerably higher than that now, but I won't add that cost in until it's time to replace when we run out of the bulk oil. So altogether, this tractor is going to cost about $504 just for a very basic filter and service job. I mentioned we had to change the hydraulic filters, the hydraulic oil, every 1,000, 1,200 hours also. I don't have a price on them, but I'm guessing they're around $200 for the filters, and it figures out it holds 45.6 gallon of Hytran. And that figures out to about $820 for the oil. So we're looking at around $1,000 per tractor just to change the hydraulic oil in them. So like I said, the tractors themselves are not cheap, and maintenance certainly isn't cheap, but there's no replacement for good maintenance. One thing I forgot to mention on the walk around as part of our annual maintenance too, we like to get them in and get them clean, put a coat of wax on them, protect them from the elements, and we also like to spend some time. We clean the cabs out, armor all things, and have them as nice as we can. They don't stay clean very long, but at least once a year they do get a good deep cleaning, and it makes it a little easier to clean up as the year goes on. Well, I'm just out here this morning looking to see if they got all the tile done. We're putting some dry dams in on this farm. Try to get the tile work done this spring, and then we'll hopefully be able to get the dirt work done this fall after harvest. Well, as you saw in the time lapse, we did a big old machine shed shuffle the other day, and we got the planter dug out of the back corner, and we got it shoved here in the shop now and going through it, checking it over, and got a few things to do through it. I'll kind of walk you by real quick and tell you what we're doing. Planter's Kinze 3600 1223, and I just got done checking all the air pressure and all the tires, and kind of looking things over, and did a little work on it yesterday on some chains. We're replacing the chain in there that drives the half row planter shutoff, and then the two chains that go up and drive the front pusher rows. Got the chains new chains cut and everything. I'm just waiting on the new, gonna put all new idler sprockets on it while we're doing it. Some are a little rough and getting a little loose, so hopefully they'll be here tomorrow. We can put the chains back on it. We've got to put the plates back in the row units. It was all greased before we put it away, except for we got to grease the zerks on the transport wheels and the center pivot. I think it's the only thing it didn't grease last summer when we cleaned it up. We went through a while ago and set the pressure on the down pressure on the closing wheels, and really doesn't need a whole lot. Okay, I'm gonna try to show you a little bit what we have to do to these units for corn. This one's a little different. This is what's called the singulator, And these little plastic tabs that hold that bar have a tendency to break. Maybe one a year. This year I have 2 that we have to replace, and try to get it finagled down in here without breaking it. They designed it so it would just fit, but that's about it. Now I gotta get it turned just right. So got it in there, now I gotta get the dial turned around where I can get a hold of it, where you set it. That's what holds it in. Okay, kind of hard to see, but it sits in there on 2 little tabs, and the dial comes through the back, and that's all there is to it. You put the knockouts in, the single row of knockouts for corn. The bean ones are black, and they have 2 rows of spikes on them because the bean plates are double rows of holes. That just snaps in there. Said we set the, you can see this, set the singulator for 2 medium. It sets on 0 for beans. And we put a plate in. There's a corn plate. Single row holes. Sets in, locks in. We've got our cover with our knocker in. And turn it in until it locks in. She's ready to go back on the planter.